All right, what's going on, everybody? Blake Chancey here, back at it again. Today, we need to talk about the listings that are absolutely getting crushed in this market around Vancouver and the Lower Mainland. Basically, everything's getting crushed right now, but we'll hone in on some specific property types. Right now, we're sitting at historic high inventory levels. More than 17,000 homes are for sale right now across Greater Vancouver. And here's the thing that most people don't even realize. When inventory gets this high, the gap between sellable homes and dead listings gets huge. Not all homes are created equal, and some properties, you could drop the price 100 grand and buyers still scroll right past them. These are property losers. These are listings that sit for months on end, some, 6 to 12 month mark. We're seeing a ton of listings just sit for nearly a year at this point. And it's absolutely wild. If we went back a couple years ago, we were seeing homes selling in 7 days, 30 days. And then there was a stigma around any property that sat on the market for over 30 days. Everybody thought that something was wrong with it. Now it's just standard. Average days on market right now is higher than I've seen in the last decade. So today, I'm going to be breaking down the 10 types of homes that are most impossible to sell right now and the real lessons that you can take away so you don't end up in the same situation. Let's dive into it. First one on the list, houses in Vancouver with no rental suites. Now, this one has become incredibly rare. Most homes in East Van, Burnaby, New West, they all come with mortgage helpers, basement suites, secondary suites, laneway homes, something. And that's because buyers absolutely need this extra income to qualify for their mortgage. So the mistakes that I see right now is somebody buys a home that had a suite and then they remove it because they personally don't need it. That's a huge mistake. You're basically taking value out of your property because even if you can qualify without the suite, the next buyer probably can't. And when you're competing against dozens and dozens of other homes that all have mortgage helpers, guess which one the buyer's going to pick? They're going to pick the one that's more affordable for them. So homes without a suite almost always sell for way less unless there's something extremely special about them and you found that unicorn buyer. Let's go to number 2, 2-bedroom townhomes. And I know this one sounds controversial, but hear me out. The whole reason most buyers get into a townhome is because they want the middle ground somewhere between a condo and a house and it's affordable to them. And 90% of the time, that means they need at least 3 bedrooms. 2 kids, work from home, you're not buying a 2-bedroom townhome. So what ends up happening is that these 2-bedroom townhomes basically competing with other 2-bed condos. A lot of people prefer single floor living over stacked living. So that's a single floor condo if it offers, 2-bed, 2 baths, 1,000 plus square feet versus a townhome that has 2-bed, 2 baths that's stacked up against it. You're really going to be competing against them. Now, personally, I always prefer a townhome because you get your own parking. You're driving right into your property versus going to a parkade, into, the common areas, going up the elevator. I love townhomes, but a lot of my clients, I'm trying to at least get them into a 2-bed and den versus just a 2-bedroom. Okay, so those types of properties definitely are sticking on the market for a lot of time. They're a tough sell for sure. So sticking with townhomes, number 3, 3-bedroom townhomes with only 1 parking spot. This one is brutal. Families traditionally right now in our current lives need 2 parking spots. End of story. And when there's only 1 parking spot, the buyer pool shrinks dramatically. Even if a family only owns 1 car right now, they're already thinking ahead. Future resale, future lifestyle, and they don't want to deal with street parking forever because it's always a mess. And depending on what time you're leaving your home and coming back from work or going in and out of the day, you might get lucky finding a spot, but you might not. What's wild is that the difference on these units is often bigger than the actual value of the second parking stall. A parking stall might be worth, $20,000, $30,000 in the Vancouver market, but I'm seeing these homes sell for $50,000 below identical townhomes that offer 2 parking spots. That's a $20,000 to $30,000 spread just because of buyer psychology, and then it's hitting the need that people have. Next up, tiny condos that were sold as luxury. And no, I'm not talking about penthouse in the Shangri-La. I'm talking about these super small units. They're in Tsawwassen, Ladner, Vancouver, everywhere. Buyers paid insane numbers for these 400 to 600 square foot condos during the pre-sale boom. And now they're really like the lowest on any buyer's preference list. Now here's the reality. Once people walk into these finished units, a lot of them realize these units aren't actually that luxury either. They're not much nicer than a comparable unit down the street that they could have got for a significant discount at this point in time in the market. And with the foreign buyer ban on top of that, this segment is absolutely tanked. Butterfly had one sale in a year, and that seller lost nearly $500,000. That's how rough this micro luxury condo segment is right now. Number 5, properties with fixed tenancies. Man, it is so hard to sell a property right now with a fixed tenant. Even if you're in a month-to-month, if you're writing an offer, getting it accepted, and removing subjects right now, you as the buyer can't move into that property until April 1st. And that's no joke. That's so cheesy. I'm sorry. It just kind of came to me though. It's absolutely ridiculous though. So we have to give tenants 3 full months notice, which is fair to the tenant. I understand they have to change their entire lifestyle. They got to look for their next property. Luckily, there's quite a few vacant properties out there to rent right now, and the rental market's come down. But still, it's an absolute headache for any buyer to wait basically 4 months to get into your home. Nobody wants that. And to make it worse, some banks aren't even giving financing on some of these micro units. Like if it's 400 square feet or under, some banks will just completely deny any financing on those properties. They don't really see it as a real property or a long-term investment plan. Combine all that, you're looking at some of the hardest to sell listings in the entire Lower Mainland right now. All right, number 6, houses next to large electrical power stations. Not the little poles. I'm talking about giant transmission powers. These things kill resale. I think of a listing I had years ago during the slower market cycle. Tons of people love the home, beautiful interior, great layout, lots of awesome features, but everybody would look out the bedroom window, or when they walked inside, they saw the massive hydro tower in the distance and instantly said, nope. This is a massive issue in Tsawwassen, my main market here. We have large power poles running through a few different neighborhoods in Tsawwassen, and the property values on those can be up to 10 to 15% less than the similar style home just around the corner from them. And even when the tower isn't that close, the perception alone destroys the buyer confidence. Sellers usually have to reduce the price again and again just to get somebody in the door. And the buyer who does eventually buy it is usually expecting a deal because they know they'll have the same issue when they go to sell in the future. All right, number 7 is a big one. Homes with steep driveways. I know this sounds dramatic, but steep driveways can be one of those things that buyers just refuse to compromise on. You know, let's say you have 2, 3 children. Do you want to park in your driveway to then battle up a slope? Like your kid could step outside the vehicle and take a tumble back down on the road. Like that's kind of crazy, but it's a reality. And like, I don't blame people for thinking of that stuff. If you don't drive an SUV, good luck. If you're older, forget it. If you have kids, like I said, it's a massive safety concern. Homes with steep driveways consistently sell 10 to 15% lower to comparable homes on flat lots in the same neighborhood. They always sit on the market longer. It's one of the most overlooked value killers in the market. All right, number 8, condos with extremely high strata fees. This is one simple math. Maintenance fees go up every single year, especially those with crazy amenities that include any water feature. If you have a fountain in your strata and a pool and a hot tub, maintenance fees are just always naturally going to go up over time. And banks also include maintenance fees in your mortgage qualifications calculations. That's why you get a pre-approval and then you get fully approved once you have an accepted offer on a particular property, because then the lender can tie that equation into your financing, see how much it's going to cost you month in and month again for those strata fees. So it's something very important to look out as well. In a slow market, these high fee condos might as well come with a do not buy sticker. Like it's literally killing a lot of deals out there. They're some of the slowest moving products on the market right now. Number 9, condos without any parking at all. Outside of downtown, this is a massive problem. For example, a friend of mine was with a client touring a 1-bed condo near VGH, Vancouver General Hospital. There was no parking, and it was priced $100,000 below similar units that offered a parking spot. He told me that it was an absolute waste of time showing that property, and that sucks. Like if you're living in the unit, working with the listing agent realtor, and then you're taking time out of your day to get that property ready, the realtor and the buyer, it's just a waste of everybody's time. And I think it was a big learning lesson for that agent as well. Now let's talk about Surrey Central. They're feeling this big time. Tons of pre-sales were bought without any parking spots. Now these units are completing and nobody wants them. You can't sell them. You can't rent them. It's a terrible situation. And that brings us to the final one. Number 10, assignment sales. Assignments used to be the golden ticket. You know, buy a pre-sale, flip it before completion, make easy money. That era is dead. I'm glad that these assignments are kind of out of the equation. There's a lot of greed in the market over the last few years. And so I feel for anybody that's lost a lot of money, but I don't feel too bad for those greedy people out there that were buying like literally 10 pre-sales because they only had to put 5% down, and now they're trying to flip those and they're not making any money. Like it's awful, but that's what happened when greed comes into play. So rents are dropping. International students have actually disappeared as well. Investors are on the sidelines. Most of them have left BC, if not the country, and developers themselves are trying to unload unsold inventory. You're competing against everybody, and buyers know they have all the leverage right now in this declining market. Some of the people trying to assign properties right now are calling me saying, Blake, what's the value? Why did my property sell? And I can't even really have a conversation with them. But those that have taken their property off the market, they give me a call and they see if I'm interested in the listing, and I'm not, because it's unsellable. So that's the list. That's 10 types of properties that are getting hammered in today's market the hardest. If you're selling one of these and your listing is sitting for months, this is why. And if you're a buyer, this is where you can negotiate some absolute steals, as long as you understand the long-term resale challenges and you're also planning to stay in that property for a long time. People right now more than ever really need to think about holding real estate for 5 to 15 years. I used to say 5 years all the time, but I think right now we're in a cycle. It's going to continue downward for the next couple of years. So anytime you're buying a property, think of the long-term play. So if you guys found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe, drop a comment below. And if you're buying or selling anywhere in Greater Vancouver, across Canada, even North America, I can set you up with another fantastic realtor in that market. I specialize in Ladner and Tsawwassen. Thank you all so much. The channel's been exploding this week. It's very exciting. Can't wait to keep going on, continuing on this journey with you guys. Appreciate you a lot. Peace.